Hey, happy Tuesday, everyone. This is your host, not Ryan Duffy, but actually Mo Islam, co-founder of Payload. And today we're going to actually flip things around a little bit. My guest is Payload's very own managing editor, Ryan Duffy, and your usual host of Pathfinder, but we've actually temporarily fired him. Not because he's bad at his job, but because we think he's a bit overdue for being on the hot seat. So here he is today. I, for one, am very excited to get into Ryan's head for the next hour. But we do have to thank, before we get into the conversation, our fine sponsors of today's episode, which is Space Ventures, the planet's first space investment portal. Space Ventures recently launched an effort to open an investment round in SpaceX. They've received over $17.1 million in pledges from over 1,000 investors, not to mention that there's over $80 million in private interest looking to add to the petition. And with this kind of traction, Space Ventures is on its way to becoming the first investment portal to conduct a SpaceX allocation. So very exciting. If you're interested in investing in SpaceX, you can be part of history by heading over to the Space Ventures website. That's spacedventures.com. That's space with an ED. Then pledge to invest in SpaceX. No commitment required. You can check out their website, spacedventures.com, for more information. So Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. You crushed it.
The roles are reversed.
Great intro.
The roles are reversed. How does it feel? Thank you. I've been practicing that. I was practicing that all night.
It's Freaky Friday, and for the record, we're recording on a Friday, so it's perfect. The stars are aligned.
Yes. So happy Tuesday, but also happy Friday.
Yeah. Hey, happy Tuesday.
Hey, exactly. So I get to ask all the questions today, and I get to go off script, and I get to go off agenda whenever I feel like, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's pretty exciting, right?
Yes, and it's all on the record.
Yeah, exactly. Now, to really kick things off, I think there's one thing that the audience may not know about you that I remember we talked about when we first met. And it's such a great story that I'd love for you to share with the world. And so for context for the audience, Ryan is a huge runner and was once a very routine runner. But Ryan, I think you know where I'm going with this, so I'm gonna let you take it away and explain.
Oh my God, Mo, bringing up a painful memory. Simultaneously very, very proud, but also painful. So yes, I'm a reformed runner. In high school, I ran very competitively and had the option to run track and cross country in college at a D1 or D3 level. And I didn't, and I'm probably better off for it. But I ran the Boston Marathon my junior year, and then I raised $15,000 for Dana-Farber. And after that, I stopped running, and I felt something lacking a few years after graduating from college, and I was like, okay. And also I was a little out of shape, so I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run a mile every day, and I ran a mile every day for 1,027 days in a row. And I mean, I ran through rain, shine, like everything, including COVID and the flu and New York City winters. And it ended not because of an injury, not because of illness, but because I just forgot one day. It's the most anticlimactic thing ever.
I gotta say, even though it was an anticlimactic ending to it all, the fact that you did that for as long as you did requires an insane amount of discipline. I mean, truly, like, an incredible amount of discipline. So, I mean, hats off to you for even like getting as far as you did. Did we ever confirm?
I ran probably 30 to 50 miles in these. For anyone who's not watching, they're flip-flops. And just because I had to do my mile and it was nighttime and I was wherever, and it was just so funny because I would run on the road and you could hear them smacking, and people thought they were about to get attacked just because the sound of flip-flops hitting the ground just scared the living bejesus.
I have a quick question on this one. What is sort of like the maybe craziest is the right word, or maybe like just like the most like unlikely time you'd run a mile that you did run a mile?
Yeah, so it was when I was in Austin before I briefly lived in New York, and there was just a very severe summer thunderstorm in Austin, but I had to do my mile. And if I got struck by lightning, so be it. And I remember I was taking like a big jump over a puddle, and it didn't matter because I was completely soaking wet, but I was still for some reason trying to avoid this puddle. And there was a bolt of lightning and like the thunderclap, and it scared me so badly. Like as I was in midair, I just completely tilted over and fell into the puddle. Like the sound and like visceral effect of lightning like knocked me over into a puddle. But I finished the mile.
That's amazing.
I've been hit by 2 cars. That's the first time that this is being released into the public record. Very, very slowly, but I've been hit by 2 cars. You would be maybe you wouldn't be shocked, but the amount of people who pull up to a stop sign and start to turn right without like looking the other way is astonishing. And I know because I've been hit twice, but also like I've had 20 close calls. So I did not expect to talk about this morning. So you're doing A+ so far, Mo.
So did we ever find out if there's any type of Guinness record around this? Because I bet even if there isn't,
Yes.
You probably own whatever that record is.
I don't know what the actual Guinness record is, but I know that there is like a club, and I don't know why I didn't join it, but there's a website or an app where people do this, and it's a community-based thing. It's honor system, and there are people who have done this for 30 years. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Well then, I guess you might you might have some time.
And people are always like, oh, like who's going to verify? Like, why would I lie about running a mile? Like when I didn't run the mile,
Yep.
I told everyone. It was sad, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to start again. And then I realized how old I would be to tie my record and pass it.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's too intimidating.
Well, amazing that it's a great accomplishment. But let's jump into the meat of this. Ryan, tell us a little bit about your role at Payload and what you're really helping us build.
Yes, so I am the managing editor, and I used to be the host of Pathfinder, but unfortunately that didn't work out. So, but as the managing editor, I steer our coverage, our high level strategy in terms of curation and where we're investing our time and resources, and I manage an ever-growing newsroom. And so full-time employees right now, that consists of me, Rachel Zisk, and Jacqueline Feldscher. I hope I pronounced that right. That's the first time I've ever said her name out loud.
I think it's right.
But yes, shout out to both of them, and shout out to Jacqueline because she joined on Tuesday. So we also have a stable of contributors and interns and just freelance folks that we work with. And so when I say ever growing, I mean it. We're ever growing, and I say that we work across 4 time zones and 2 continents, which really kind of overstates it overstates the size, I would say, of Payload, because we are still very, very, very small. We're a lean, mean fighting machine.
Yes, but growing quickly. So
absolutely.
So Ryan, I actually took some time to go through some of your old tweets, and
oh God,
you don't have to worry because
I'm about to get canceled.
You're not going to get canceled. I actually do want to quote a part of a tweet that you tweeted the day you joined Payload, which was, "I've been mesmerized by the cosmos since before I can remember." So talk to us a little bit about that. How long have you been interested in space, and what's driven your desire to join an organization like this and really help be such a vital part of our growth?
I think it was either the last episode or the episode before, but we were talking, I think it was with Laura, we were talking about, she wanted to be an astronaut from a young age. And I wasn't sure, so I went back and checked my notes, aka talked to my parents. I did not want to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a trash man, a garbage man, and ride on the back of the garbage trucks. But I mean, I always loved space. And
wait, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to. You can't just gloss over the fact that you wanted to.
This is my I asked for this for Christmas for like 3 years, and I mean it's an expensive lightsaber. Also, by the way, I brought this from Dallas from my childhood.
Yeah, for the listeners who aren't watching the video,
They'll hear
Ryan
it.
just
They'll
broke
hear
out
it.
a lightsaber. Yeah,
A
exactly.
very realistic lightsaber. They'll hear it. But no, I mean I read so many space books. You know, honestly, compared to like the average Payload reader or Pathfinder listener, I'm just being honest here. I probably wasn't as completely all in on space, but I was always super, super interested. And I think that there isn't like inherent instinctive baseline interest and fascination across humanity for space. It's like the final frontier. And there are so many reasons, I think, why we are drawn, at least to a certain level, to space. And I would say that, I would index my interest was like higher than the average person, of course. And
Sure.
but again, a lot of folks in our community and our audience knew from day one that they were going to go into space. And honestly, like I don't think that I knew that, but I also didn't know if there was a path for me, because I'm not non-technical by training, education, and whatnot. And so I didn't know if there was even going to be an opportunity. So long story short, but yes, long story short, that lightsaber was the best Christmas present I ever got.
Amazing. Well, we're going to get into your non-space background in a little bit, but before we jump into that, maybe give us a little bit about how did you end up at Payload? Like, give us your career arc. You have a very interesting sort of educational background, and then ultimately how you landed here with us. But give us some of that story. And we have your dog in the background, so maybe you can introduce him.
Kobe, say hi. So the garbage Friday's trash day. I'm sorry, Mo. Like, I want to quit and go run and jump on the trash truck, because that's my childhood dream. But he's very scared of trash.
The truck.
It should be gone soon. But I'm sorry. You'll have to repeat the question.
No. Tell us a little bit. Just I think it would be really great to just kind of hear really from school onward. Like, how did you, maybe a little bit about your kind of career path and how you ended up with us.
Yeah, so I have a pair of degrees in international studies and global policy studies. And what does that mean? I don't know. It's interdisciplinary, a lot of econ, obviously a lot of foreign policy, geopolitics. Very, very useful in this day and age. But I was on a pre-law track, and then I realized I didn't want to be a lawyer. But I am good at arguing and being persuasive, and I think I'm pretty good at writing. And so then, pretty late in the game, I was like, okay, this journalism, writing as a career thing is interesting. Is it workable? Is there a viable path? Probably not. And I think we'll get into my last like really formative and major media experience later, but I got really lucky, and the stars aligned, and I found a way in, and I found a way to do it and make ends meet, and that's a lot more than most folks can say. There are a lot of people who want to do this, so I mean I count my blessings, but kind of stumbled into it. Didn't, again, when I was 9 years old, didn't know that I wanted to be a writer. And I honestly think of myself more as a writer than a journalist. I guess I've expanded beyond the written word, but I think that when I voluntarily wrote an essay about the constitutionality of certain climate change measures. And again, this was not for a class. I voluntarily wrote it. And it was when I was studying abroad in Dubai. And I just wrote it at night and submitted it to public policy journals. That's when I realized, like, okay, like I like this writing thing, but
Yep.
I digress.
Well, you're a great writer, that's for sure. No, but we'll tell us a little bit. Okay, so I know you didn't name it, but of course, like before you were at Payload, you were at Morning Brew, and then you decided to join us at Payload.
Oh yes. Sorry, I'm sorry. You asked about. You're doing a great job at moderating. I'm just, I'm gonna just lay the compliments on so that I don't get fired from. I've already been fired from the hosting job. I don't want to get fired from the managing editor job. But no, that's good. You're getting us back on track. So how did I join Payload? So I want to be diplomatic here on the other side of the table. Normally I ask the tough questions, and the folks that I'm talking to are like, what can we reveal? What do we not want to reveal? But here's what happened.
Let me ask it to you differently.
Y'all caught word through the grapevine that I might be looking to leave my last job, and reached out through a mutual connection, who we work with pretty closely, not at Payload, but our newsletter stack is built on their platform. And we had an initial call, and I was like, what the hell do these guys want to talk about? Like, I knew who Ari was because of, I don't want to get in trouble, no holds barred, but I'd seen Ari on my timeline a lot with like the grind set, marketing, like thread tweets.
Correct. He was at the time doing all the.
What does this guy want to talk to me about? And you were also on the call, and then y'all told me about Payload, and I was like, oh wow, this is very interesting. And I mean, from that day to me signing the offer, it was very quick. It was like, it was less than a month. And so yes, it was a pretty high conviction. I didn't have any regrets. Was it like the safe smart bet? No, but startups never are.
No, that's right. And you were you're the very first hire for the business, and I think clearly a tremendous amount of risk at the time, and still is today because we are still a startup. But no, we've been you've done such a phenomenal job at sort of building the product and growing the newsroom. So maybe let's talk a little bit about that. We now have this fledgling newsroom, like it was one, not that long ago. And now we're pretty much at 4 full time, especially if we include Jess in that, because I know she's been helping out a lot there, and in 2 part time. But tell us a little bit about how things have changed from your perspective, just on the newsroom side, like in terms of our ability to cover more stories, or like just taking stuff off your plate. Like how has that transition been going from one person to now many more?
Yeah. So it's obviously night and day. I joined 13 months ago. Just to level set, I joined 13 months ago. I had a month to get ramped up on space to a level that I am somewhat of a perfectionist in that I like to know the subject matter that I'm covering 2 layers of like complexity deeper than what we're actually going to write to the audience. So I had a month to get up to speed on that, and then simultaneously, determine our playbook and our strategy for switching from the MVP, the weekly newsletter that you started and that you and Ari were writing, to a daily newsletter. And then, we launched that, and the 1-year anniversary of that was on Tuesday or Wednesday. It was this week. But I think that there are a few big changes. One, of course, is just the bandwidth has expanded, and that is very important because look, let's be honest. Like it's been burning both ends of the candle a lot, and the space beat is very, very unforgiving and demanding. And the typical newsletter model for a daily newsletter, you can schedule, as we say in the industry, set the newsletter, but all that means is schedule it. Like the night before, you cannot do that for Space. Like it's not, you could do it, but it would be inaccurate in the morning, or it wouldn't be comprehensive or up to date. So it's a weird, it's a weird schedule, but first it's a function of bandwidth. Two, as we grow up the newsroom there, we get to diversify and specialize a little more. But behind the scenes, I think the really important things that I've been watching and that we've made a lot of progress on was when we flipped the switch and started daily, the newsletter was 100%. Well, actually it wasn't. There was original reporting in the first daily newsletter we ever sent, but largely it was curation and aggregation. So what that means is we were like writing up other stories, and we weren't setting the narrative or doing our own sort of at the front, like cutting, like we were aggregating other people's news, and we still do that. I mean, that's why the newsletter model works very well. Like the second half of any given payload is a lot of aggregation. But I think we very decisively and very swiftly moved into original reporting, original content, our own conversations, not us writing up other people's conversations, our own analysis, that sort of thing. And then the other, informal, I don't know, like marker of success or progress that I tracked. I describe this as a pendulum because when we started, and this, at my last job, and I know because this happened at my last job, you start out, you're an unknown quantity, you're a nobody, and you send like it's just like sales or BD or whatever. Like I sent tons of cold emails like requesting to do interviews, like to serve the goal of what I was just talking about, to like,
it's a grind.
Set our own tone and like write our own damn stories that you have to talk to people. And at the beginning, like people are less inclined to pick up the phone. And so one like marker, I suppose, of success is the pendulum starts to swing. Your hit rate, like people will take you up on your offer to talk, which we are always very grateful for. And at the beginning, it makes sense. Like we're an unknown quantity. Like these people are all super busy. Their time is very valuable. The opportunity cost of talking to this dingus is like pretty high. So, but at a certain point, if you succeed in what you've set out to do, the pendulum has flipped, and it's not outbound. Like the inbound is more than the outbound, and we're the ones that have to start saying no to calls and opportunity, like that sort of thing, just for lack of time and bandwidth. And we hit that really quickly at Payload, and then honestly, Pathfinder, we hit it even faster at Pathfinder, which makes sense because the podcast format is obviously high profile. Great place for the thought leaders to get their thoughts out.
Exactly. Well, it's interesting because like when we moved, when we were contemplating going from weekly to daily, one of the questions that we kept asking ourselves, and we're still surprised that we even asked ourselves this question back then, was like, is there enough content to do daily? And I think it was, to be quite frank, I remember when we started the daily, we were like, we were all worried. We were like, is there going to be enough content? And like, I mean, maybe talk about what's changed from sort of our thoughts of the potential lack of content to talk about to today.
Yeah, that was, of course, a top of mind concern, and I think it was a concern that I was like sharing with y'all. And 12 months into this, it's if anything, it's like even a daily newsletter that on average is about 1,400 to 1,500 words, even that's like not enough. Like I was alluding to earlier, Space does not sleep Rockets do not adhere to the Eastern 9 to 5 work schedule. And there's so much happening. And at the beginning, I myself, I'm an outsider. Like I covered space a little bit at the last job, but not to the level or with the attention of detail that we bring to bear at Payload. And so
Yep.
getting up to speed, I started to realize, okay, this is definitely a workable proposition for a daily newsletter. But also, I think there wasn't, it's part of the Payload thesis, but there wasn't a good sort of repository or media product for all these things that were happening, like structured in a reader user friendly way, like meeting people where they are in the inbox. And we still, I'm a perfectionist, and like whenever we miss something and like the term sheet or the contract report are on the move, I like beat myself up. But there's so much happening. It is obviously such a global industry, and it's not just an industry. Our whole spiel is that the commercial space industry is taking off, but narrative violation, like obviously governments and militaries are still in the driver's seat. Let's not kid ourselves. But it is so big. There's so much happening. And so, yes, all that is to say, they're don't want to give away like Payload's roadmap on the podcast, but there's more newsletters that we could be sending for specific verticals and whatnot. And we have, we have, I'm only going to shout out your monthly newsletter because you sent it this week. But there's like the investing, Ari does marketing, Rachel with the excellent Parallax. But there's so many other verticals that you could imagine us launching on a less frequent cadence than daily. And I just want to underscore, I just want to I'm going to put the meme in post-production of Obama putting a medal over Obama. I just want to underscore Pat, the newsroom on the back. A daily newsletter is hard. Like it's a lot of work. So we can bleep that out too.
Yep. No. 100%. But there's a lot more that we need to talk about, including talking a little bit more about space. But it is time for a short break to hear about our sponsors. Innovation requires early stage funding, but space startups don't have many options. Space Ventures is the world's first space investment portal offering direct access to investment deals and lets you back innovative space startups. As I'd mentioned before, they are launching an effort to open an investment round into SpaceX. Over 1,000 investors have pledged to invest $17.1 million so far. The more investors pledge, the stronger the chance is for SpaceX to conduct a community round on Space Ventures. You can be among the first retail investors to have the opportunity to invest in SpaceX by heading over to their website and pledging to invest. There's no commitment required. So check out their website, Spaced Ventures. That's ED, Spaced Ventures, for more information. Spaceventures.com for more information. Thanks, everyone.
We're back.
All right, and we're back, and it looks like we have another guest for the show today. Ryan, tell us who this is.
Kobe, say hi. This is Kobe. He is my best friend. He's my king, and he's our family dog. And I grew up in Dallas. My dad's a supporter of Payload. He reads the newsletter. He doesn't listen to the podcast, so he's not going to hear this. I'm obviously back at my house in Austin. I took Kobe back with me, saying I would bring him back like soon, but I think it's Kobe's going back to Dallas over my dead body. So yeah, Kobe's my dog. He's a Shiba Inu, which everyone you might not know the name, but you've seen a Shiba Inu before because they are the most viral internet dogs. Like Kobe is the founder of Dogecoin. Like he's the same. He is the Doge.
He's the Doge. So Ryan, I want to talk a little bit about journalism in the space industry. And really, I think if you talk to most folks, especially folks that aren't in the industry, right? What do you know? What do you think about the space industry? What's happening? I think most would talk about Bezos and Musk and Branson, and the words billionaire and space race would come up, right? more specifically around tourism and what those three entrepreneurs are doing for the tourism industry, and just really oftentimes compared to sort of their pet projects. So, like, why do you think that's the case? And why do you think the mainstream media isn't more interested in the actual important stories? And there's many, many more that we can. There's many that we can talk about, but why do you think this is the case
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
mainstream audience is so focused on the wrong thing?
I mean, it's partially the incentives of media, but it's also like it's on the consumer. Like it's human psychology. People don't. People. I'm like people don't aren't going to want to read about like the complexities of electric propulsion for satellites versus billionaires are going to space and it's a problem for the industry because there's this massive disconnect between what is actually happening, where the real value is, and what the general public's perception of everything that's going on in space is. And I'm glad to see things like DART and JWST pierce through that, because that's like the surest way for the folks at NASA, but also for like us and for everyone in the industry. The surest way to like know that a space story is a trending topic or a main character, as you would put it on Twitter,
Right.
is like people text me and they're like, yo, like, have you heard of like this James Webb Space Telescope or like this DART? And it's like, yes, we've been writing about it for 9 months, but I'm like being facetious, but like, that's great. I love that because there's a massive disconnect. And I think that part of that lies with the inherent complexities of all of this. But it's still a big opportunity because, to return to an earlier point, like there is a baseline inherent level of curiosity and interest in space, but going 1 or 10 levels deeper, you start to lose people. And the billionaire space race is like a very interesting storyline. What's not as interesting is Earth observation and manufacturing satellite buses. And despite those being much more important and like generating more revenue and on like the government, on the military and civil, like this is much more important than to date, like people going to space, like consumers going to space. But it's a compelling narrative or storyline. But I think like Payload's a news organization, and we are like an unbiased source of space news. But we have views. Like we are pro space. I'm sorry. Like we're pro space, and I'm not gonna kid anyone and say that like when we see that narrative being propagated by anyone, like we're gonna call it out, because like that's not what's driving space forward. It's an increasingly important aspect of the industry, and like yes, access to space for humans and for payloads and for everything is opening up, and like we'll be there to cover it, but it's not the only thing going on. And to cast off space as like a billionaire's playground, missing the forest for the trees.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with that. And I think I told you guys, I don't know, it was like a couple months ago, but I was at a dinner when it was with a number of friends who are all kind of in various really amazing roles in the tech industry. And the Starship came up, and literally no one at that dinner knew what Starship was, which was pretty. I mean, at the time I was like shocked, but it just kind of made me realize that the mainstream audience view on space and what's important is definitely very different from what we kind of perceive sort of within the space bubble. But from that perspective, Ryan, I would like to ask you, like, on a more maybe grander vision, like what is the mission of Payload? Like, what are we looking to achieve here? And how do you think about everything from like the voice of Payload and the way you've built sort of the newsletter? There's memes in the newsletter, right? Like, and there's a rhyme or reason for that. It's not random.
Mimetic payloads.
Exactly. But talk a
Yeah,
little bit about
yeah,
like what is the mission,
yeah.
and
I
how
mean,
you kind of built like this product to kind of help enable that mission.
yeah. So one of the great ironies of the space industry is, despite how cutting edge and how much complex engineering and how high tech everything is, a lot of aspects of it are still stuck in the Stone Age and like are very analog. And that's like goes for like marketing and PR and just like external facing functions, or basically any business functions. And it's not a knock on like the brilliant technical people building the future, but it is often the case, and it's very obvious that a lot of these functions are afterthoughts or cast aside as insignificant, because you're in search of building the next amazing space vehicle or whatever. But I think that there isn't one. Let's start with the newsletter, and we're a digital media company, so we are newsletter first. We are not just the space. We're not just a newsletter. Hopefully everyone listening to this realizes that, obviously, but I think that that's half the battle. Like the channel and the medium is really important. And this is not, I'm not speaking uniquely to the space vertical, but a lot of organizations that do news treat newsletters not as their own product, but as a vessel to push people to their website. That's not effective. Like we spend a lot of time. I have spent 50 hours like designing the newsletter and refining things and building like our general model of how we think about things, because that's the end experience. And of course the newsletter has tons of links with the optionality to go to another destination. But when we send payload out every day, our goal is not to drive someone somewhere. It's to give them the product and meet them where they are. So that's the first part. The second part, of course, is the voice, the tone, the style. That's an art more than a science. And I mean, I'm lucky because I kind of get to steer the course on that and set the tone. But there's not really, people will know what we mean by when we're talking about voice, tone, style of payload. Like, again, we're not like biased, we're not opinionated, but like we will make jokes and we will do things with our copy and with our newsletter that you would never see in Bloomberg or the Wall Street Journal. Like, it's fun, and it's fun, but not overly. It's not. It's fun when it's appropriate to be fun. Like, we're not gonna.
Correct.
Yeah. Today's story.
Yeah, we're obviously reporting on
today's story about like by Rachel about like ties between Chinese and Russian media and like think tank perceptions of the U.S. space program and how it's highly linked with perceptions of nuclear capabilities. We're not going to make a joke in that story, but for obvious reasons. The last part is how we think about coverage and curation. And so the shorthand that I would use to describe this is, in my estimation, I think that 80% of mind share, broadly defined, and so that can be if you break that out, it's like headlines, it's mainstream media coverage, and like social media chatter and existing media coverage for space. Is 80% is focused on SpaceX and NASA, and we love SpaceX and NASA. Don't get me wrong. However, there's a lot of people. It's saturated. I internally, as you're well aware, like I call that commodity news. Like, we don't have the access that like Eric Berger has, and we're not going to beat Eric Berger, but that's not what we're trying to do. And there are so many folks that are doing a great job, but because of this like 80%, that only leaves 20% for everything else. And so that's all the other foreign space agencies. Everything going on like in the US, all the rest of the commercial space sector. And so Payload, and this of course is not, it's not an empirical science. Like, I haven't measured what the exact story breakdown is, but it's directionally accurate. So we flip that on its head, and we do 80% for the rest, I would say, and 20% on the more like high covered things. And another good way another good way of thinking about this is launch. We love a good rocket launch as much as the next space nerd. However, we are not going to win on covering launch. And I think there are so many folks out there who do a great job of it. But, back to the earlier point, there's so much else there's so much going on. I spoke to a high profile investor and a high profile journalist who have for various reasons vested interests in like finding out more about space. And it's just like the surface level understanding of what's happening in space. It proves this thesis out. Like people are like, what are the sectors of space? And most people just think rockets. And if they get to satellites, they're already in the 90th percentile. This begets another topic though, and it's an existential problem for me. Is like we don't write for consumers, right? We write for the space industry and for folks in government and military space, but like we think because of the nature of what we do. Like we think about this all the time. It's like, and it's a challenge, an opportunity for us, but the rest of the industry is like bridging that gap, bringing more folks into the fold. Back to you.
You sit in a very unique vantage point, right? Because obviously you talk to a lot of folks. You're able to kind of see a lot of what's happening in the industry. A lot that unfortunately doesn't make it to the newsletter for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about. But maybe talk a little bit about what are some of the stories or themes that are overlooked or maybe not getting nearly as much attention as they should, because there is a focus on launch. And you mentioned launch earlier, and like you're right, like when there's a launch, my Twitter feed is blowing up because 10 different people are talking about every single thing from like engine ignition to stage separation to second engine cutoff to everything, right? Every little thing is being tweeted, and that's great, but like we're not going to win on that, right? There's too many people focused on that. So what are some stories that are just overlooked that you think need more folks thinking about them?
Everything. I mean, this show I could have like just laundered. I could have laundered great insights from the amazing slate of Pathfinder guests that we've had, and I haven't done it yet. I'll start now. I mean, like Caleb, who was on a few weeks ago, he talks about this a lot. Like the ground segment is super overlooked because it's unsexy. But I mean, literally, I would say like every part of the ecosystem except launch, and then I suppose I would actually say launch, and then also like space to Earth. I think people are kind of aware. The recycling trucks here. People I think most people are aware that like we're going back to the moon. Still, it's surprises us how many people, if you were to poll, the U.S. adults, like the general public, I think we'd still be surprised at what percentage of people do know that. And then also segue. What percent of people, Americans, think that the moon landing's fake? But I digress.
Sure.
I think that the answer is really just like everything, all the unsexy parts, the indispensable parts of the supply chain, the industry, all of that. Those are the overlooked stories. I mean, if I had to give you one, I don't know. Private space stations, like what Axiom is doing, like in a few years, everything that's going to be happening with OSAM and ISAM, or I don't know. I think Redwire says ISAM, so it's not nod to Redwire, but like like There will be Northrop has done they're going to be robotic servicer, spacecraft, active debris removal, gas station, like on orbit tankers, all of that. People don't know about that. So and then I mean, this is not an overlooked story, but I think actually this is like pretty well would pull pretty well in terms of like name recognition, but so this is like the exact opposite of what you asked me, but the LEO broadband constellations, like I think that's on a lot of people's radars now because Starlink and SpaceX, but also like Apple and all like T-Mobile, like household names entering the fray. So
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Now, I do want to start shifting a bit towards your kind of previous role, and I do want to ask a little bit about hype cycles. I know you've spent quite a bit of time on hype cycles as someone who's instrumental in building emerging tech crew.
Oh my God!
Give me your assessment on what part of the hype cycle are we in?
I don't think you even know this. But I'm going to put it in overlay it in the video and put it in the show notes for whoever's listening. But I tweeted the Gartner hype cycle. I made a meme, and it was really detailed, and it was about the metaverse. But it was before anyone was talking about the metaverse, and it was with a bunch of obscure references. And I was like, all right, bang your tweet. Like 3 people are gonna like it. Like the TAM for this tweet's super low, and it went viral. I had like a couple thousand likes. And this was again, like way before Facebook changed their name to Meta and stuff. So yes, I'm well versed in the hype cycle and the memeing of the hype cycle. So are you asking where space is?
Yeah, correct. Where do you think space is right now in that hype cycle? I know that's not the perfect way to describe it, but it's an interesting way to kind of think about the industry right now.
Yeah. I'm just going to decline to answer categorically. I think a more useful exercise would be to break it out, and to break it out. And I'm not sure. It's a good question. I obviously didn't give this a ton of thought. I didn't know you were going to ask this, to be fair, but I don't know. Let me pull up UZ.
Well, I'll give you sort of
Mo. It depends who you ask, right? Like a lot of people would tell you that we're at the peak of inflated expectations because the space
on the commercial side.
The space, yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, on the government side, they're at the slope of enlightenment, or they're at like they're all the way along. And I mean, like Artemis 1, the SLS is a shit show, but DART was like, I think $300 million, and it was sick and it worked. It smashed expectations and was super cost effective. And so like there, obviously JWST is like over budget and behind schedule, but that was also, there were hundreds of points of failures, and it worked, and it's doing amazing work. So, and then on the military side, I mean, like they're chugging. Government space is like they're not on the hype cycle. Like they're just doing their thing. The commercial space industry, though, I think for our purposes is what you're asking about. It just depends who you ask. Like a lot of people and a lot of people in your Rolodex like would be like, we are at the peak of inflated expectations because of zero interest rates and just the froth with the earlier pandemic years and stimulus, stimmies, and SPACs, obviously, and SPACs, and so I think in that sense, you could score that like kind of peak of inflated expectations, maybe starting to slope downwards. We haven't reported a lot of this out, but obviously there are some startups that are struggling, and some have gone under. And there's been layoffs, that sort of thing. But at the same time, and you literally, we talked about this when I used to be the host of Pathfinder, and you were a guest. It's space spending is somewhat countercyclical, and it's also, like I said earlier, like government's kind of in the driver's seat, and because of rising geopolitical tensions with China, but also Russia's invasion of Ukraine, like it's been a catalyst for space spending writ large. And as regular readers of Payload will know, like week in, week out, like there's still tons of deals in the private market, tons of contracts, all of that is still happening.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
Versus crypto.
Versus crypto. That'll be for another day.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna ask one last question before we jump into some more fun stuff. Just in the interest of time, can you give us and the audience a little bit of preview of what to expect from the editorial staff over the next year? Any new products that folks should be excited about?
Well, I already hinted at it. There's a new vertical that will. There's a new vertical that will be launching soon, and what that means is there's a new weekly newsletter that we are highly confident will be launching soon. Beyond that, I don't think we have any super high profile new product launches in the works. I think the focus is going to be, again, continuing to move the needle and push forward on original reporting and analysis. I think you could see us like moving up, up the stack, into more like research and analysis, that sort of thing. Right now, we still have a very newsletter first approach. I think we could lean more into web first, given like the bandwidth that we now have. And then really for me, like from a strategic sense, moving beyond the inbox, I think that'll be a big focus for us. That's not to say that the newsletter will still get all the love, time, and attention that it deserves and merits. And it's still, at the end of the day, right? Like from the business side, the newsletter is the cash cow, but also from like that's where we're reaching our audience most. But I do think that it's imperative for us to really focus on moving beyond the inbox over the next year.
And I like that answer because we do have a product launch coming up, but we don't want to give away too much of the secret sauce of next year. So we'll keep everyone on their toes. Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna put you in the hot seat. This is the only question I'm gonna ask.
Okay.
You and I have internal tensions about like sharing company numbers. Like build, quote unquote, build in public. What's your reticence to, like, if tomorrow I wanted to share how many subscribers Payload Daily has or like Parallax has? Sometimes you're like, we should talk about this more. We should think about this.
It's a good question. I actually don't think I have that reticence anymore. Once we hit 10,000, I think that was really the.
Fair,
it was up until the 10,000 point because I just wanted to. For me, I mean, look, to be quite frank, I don't know if I have a good answer for you. It was really from my perspective.
No, that's a good answer.
I just wanted. I thought waiting till that milestone was very important because it really did set us into the echelon of all the other organizations out there. And I was like, once we hit that number, but yeah, no, I mean, I'd be happy for us to keep really sharing how quickly we're growing with the industry because it's exciting. It's exciting, but you're absolutely right. I think the build in public mantra is something that I do respect tremendously, and I know you have a tremendous faith in. But let's just maybe use this moment to say, like, going forward, we'll do that a lot more.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a good answer. The big round number, and I like it worked. You're right. Like it worked in our favor. But back to you.
Yeah. So no, but it's a great question. It's totally fair. All right. So I'm going to ask a bunch of different questions, and you get no more than 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds to answer each one. All right. But we're gonna run through them quickly because I think there's some good ones in here. So the first question we're going to start with is your favorite space book, movie, or show. You can pick one, but what's your favorite? Nothing else needs to be said. Um, if you could answer one big question that we don't have the answer to today, this is a question from Jess, actually our very own Jess, which is like, what is dark matter? Are there aliens out there? The origins of religion,
Where
whatever it
yeah,
might be.
where are the aliens? Where are the aliens? It's not a binary like yes, no, are there aliens? It's like where are they?
Yeah, where are they?
Where are the closest ones?
That's fair. What is your favorite way to waste an hour? What is a guilty pleasure you have more time for? Maybe you can answer either one.
I don't know. I mean, probably not wasting an hour, but I think this is like a hobby oriented question. I'm running against the clock, 15 seconds. Flying my drone.
Okay, fair. If you could have any other job in the world, what would it be?
100% CEO, which by the way, this exists. You go to www.duffy.industries. I have a side gig that is Duffy Industries, and it would like be the CEO of that and be a full stack like meme agency that makes millions of dollars a year.
That's an interesting answer.
like that is I yes, like making becoming a billionaire through memes is what the other job
Yes.
that I would have.
All right, there you go. And
You probably were not expecting that.
for those of you who don't know, definitely follow Ryan on Twitter, because he does have some pretty awesome memes, and they're oftentimes very topical. So definitely hats off to you for that. Okay, so give us your dream person, both living and dead, to have on the podcast as a guest.
Living, I mean, living. Do I need to answer? Like everyone knows who it would be.
Honestly, there's a few I can think of, so I don't actually know. You're gonna have to tell us.
It would be the most important person in the space industry, maybe
I got
future
it.
owner of Twitter. Like I mean, everyone knows.
Yes.
99.99999% of listeners will know who I'm speaking about. Dead. Oh, man, that's tough. I mean, maybe like Von Braun, like, and would talk about.
That's what I would have answered, to be quite honest.
But I think that we have a job to do here at Payload, and recent episode, like it was a relatively kind of newsworthy episode, and like it wasn't super fun or comfortable for me to ask some of the tougher questions, but like I would want to ask him about rockets and the U.S. space program, but I would also want to ask about like Operation Paperclip and like the extent of what he was doing and how read in he was to what was going on in Nazi Germany.
Yep.
So.
Yep. No.
That's yeah. I mean, it's a dark answer, but like I don't know. He's obviously a very important singular figure in the history of space. So.
Yeah. No. I think that makes a lot of sense. All right. Last question. You can take a little bit more than 15 to 30 seconds if you'd like on this one. What are you most excited about in terms of development, milestones, product launches over the course of the next year that's happening in the space industry? Like, what are you most excited about?
To pick one.
You can pick a couple.
I mean, it seems like the can still keeps getting kicked down the road. Like, I've had this mustache for eight months, but all summer people were like, "Oh, nice, like Miles Teller, Top Gun mustache." It's like I haven't even seen the movie. Like, I just have this mustache. I didn't grow this mustache because Miles Teller. He might, obviously Miles Teller is like way hotter than me and looks better with it, but I didn't. It's not a Miles Teller inspired mustache. All that is to say, I eventually watched Top Gun, and it was amazing. I've watched it like 4 times. I'm very eagerly awaiting Axiom and whoever their entertainment partner, I forget the name, Space Entertainment Studios. I want to see the Tom Cruise space movie. The Russian one I've watched parts of, but like I don't speak Russian, and I think the next space movie will be better. But I don't know. the next year, what am I looking forward to? Like the amount of missions that launch on time and don't get pushed back. So that's like going to be rare enough that's a reasonable answer, I would say.
I'm just glad you didn't say Starship, because I feel like that's like 95% of probably like the industry's answers.
But yes, exactly. And I'm not. I mean, it's a good answer. And personally, like being in Austin, like I'm gonna go. I think like if we can do it, like I'm gonna go drive down and watch it because it's like 7 hours, but who knows?
Yeah.
So, I mean, supposedly it's gonna happen in the second half of December. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Supposedly. Well, we'll see. Well, fingers crossed. We obviously want it to happen and we want it to be successful. But Ryan, it was a pleasure. Thanks for being a guest on my show for the day. But lucky, you'll be happy to know that you're getting the reins back, and you will continue to be our awesome host for Pathfinder, and many more amazing guests to come that we're all very, very excited about. But thank you for being here, and thanks to all the listeners for listening in today.
Thanks, Bo. Great job.